In the hush of Mistvale's fog-laden dawn, I rose to the whisper of sawdust in my workshop, fingers tracing the familiar grain of oak, while a mysterious irritation gnawed deeper into my flesh, akin to dormant shards awakening in the quiet. The air hung heavy with the scent of fresh-cut wood, a ritual comfort that drew me from the warmth of bed to the cool embrace of tools worn smooth by years of habit. I sketched designs by lamplight into the late hours, lines flowing from my hand as if guided by some unseen rhythm, though lately my movements felt stilted, joints protesting with subtle resistance I blamed on long nights. Mornings blurred into walks along mist-shrouded streets, where the town's muted silhouettes loomed like half-remembered dreams, and I'd nod to neighbors with small, easy lies that kept the world at arm's length. No, nothing wrong. Just another day. Yet in the mirror's unyielding gaze, my reflection stared back too rigidly, eyes lingering a fraction too long, as if the glass held secrets I dismissed with a shrug and the grind of fatigue. That morning's client meeting was supposed to be routine, just another commission for a custom cabinet in the dim light of my workshop. Mrs. Hargrove stood there, her eyes sharp as she inspected the piece I'd slaved over for weeks. The oak gleamed under the overhead bulb, but I knew the flaw. A hairline crack along the back panel, hidden, but waiting to split under pressure. She'd asked for perfection, and I'd promised it. When she ran her fingers over the surface and paused, I felt the words form before I could stop them. "It's flawless," I said, my voice steady despite the flicker of unease twisting in my gut. "No issues at all. It'll last generations." The lie slipped out easily. A small one, the kind I'd told 100 times to smooth over imperfections in my work or life. But as the words left my lips, a searing pain lanced through my left arm, like a splinter driven deep and yanked free. I gasped, clutching it, and Mrs. Hargrove turned with concern etched on her face. "Ryder, are you all right?" I forced a nod, waving her off. "Just a cramp from all the sanding. Nothing to worry about." Another lie, and the pain intensified, spreading like fire under my skin. I excused myself and retreated to the back room while she browsed the samples. Alone, I rolled up my sleeve, expecting a bruise or strain. Instead, horror gripped me. The skin on my forearm wasn't skin at all. It peeled away like tree bark, flaking off in dry fibrous strips. Beneath it, something writhed, raw pink flesh pulsing with unnatural life, veins twisting like roots exposed to air. I stifled a scream, pressing my hand over it, but the sensation spread, a crawling itch that made my fingers tremble. What the hell was this? An inexplicable itch burrowed deeper beneath my skin, like forgotten splinters stirring in the quiet. The nagging symptom I'd dismissed for weeks, alongside the joint stiffness I'd blamed on age. But this was impossible. I bandaged it hastily, the writhing subsiding to a dull throb, and returned to Mrs. Hargrove with a smile plastered on my face. "All set. I'll have it delivered by Friday." She left satisfied, and I locked the door behind her, my mind reeling. That evening, as the fog rolled in thicker than usual, I tore through my attic, searching for answers. Dust motes danced in the flashlight beam, and there, in an old trunk inherited from my grandfather, I found it, an intricate bundle of time-worn puppet strings, worn and twisted, linked to a diminutive wooden marionette handle. It trembled subtly in my grip, pulsing with an eerie life against my skin. Memories stirred unbidden, childhood tales grandfather told in hushed tones of our family's curse, a pact with a forest spirit to craft perfection from deception. "Lies bind us," he'd said once, his eyes distant, "but truth unravels." I'd dismissed them as folklore, but now, holding the strings, flashes assaulted me. A boy in the woods, strings pulling at his limbs, his skin hardening to wood to hide the beast inside. The marionette's carved face seemed to leer, hinting at a monstrous truth buried in my bloodline. A parasite, or enchantment that fed on falsehoods. I dropped it and backed away, but the vibration echoed in my arm, where the bark-like skin had peeled further, exposing more twitching flesh. It looked almost human, too human, with muscles contracting independently as if trying to break free. The next day, the lies piled up like sawdust. At the coffee shop, old Mr. Wilkins asked how I was holding up after the winter flu season. "Never better," I replied, ignoring the fresh pain in my shoulder. As I spoke, I felt it happen again, a crackling sensation, like wood splitting, and under my collar more skin flaked away. I rushed home and stripped in front of the mirror. Patches of my chest had transformed into raw, quivering meat, sinews exposed and glistening. It wasn't decay. It was revelation, something authentic and feral emerging from the fragile shell I'd mistaken for my true self. I called in sick to my next client, fibbing about a migraine. "Just a day or two," I said over the phone. The words triggered another surge, this time in my thigh, where the flesh split open like splintering wood, exposing bone and tendon that cracked with faint, brittle pops. Panic set in. Was this an ancestral curse or a parasite? Some insidious thing burrowed from the woods into my veins. In the attic, I discovered a tangled set of ancient puppet strings, frayed and knotted, attached to a small wooden marionette crossbar. It vibrated faintly in my hand, as if alive, humming against my palm and seeming to call to me, murmuring that each lie fed it, eroding the illusion of control. Hallucinations began that night. In the grocery store, surrounded by the hum of fluorescent lights, I imagined my fingers splintering, wooden shards bursting from my knuckles as shoppers stared. I dropped my basket and fled. The murmurs returned, gentle yet persistent voices in my mind, pushing for more lies. "Assure them all is well," they said. "Conceal the reality. It's the secure path." Relationships fractured under the strain. My closest friend, Tom, dropped by unannounced, his brow furrowed. "You look like hell, Ryder. What's going on?" "That arm. It's bandaged again." I laughed it off. Slipped with the chisel. Clumsy me. Nothing serious. The deception scorched deeper still, and later, secluded in my bathroom, my neck split with a sharp crack as the outer layer crumbled away. Tom pressed, inviting me to dinner with mutual friends. Come on, it'll do you good. I can't, I said. Big project deadline. The deception fueled the change, agony spreading like fire under my skin. My back arched in torment as vertebrae like ridges pushed through my woody exterior. The transformation accelerating with each falsehood. Tom's visits grew insistent, but the murmurs drove me to push him away. Stop prying, I snapped one evening. I'm handling it. The lie isolated me further, and soon I avoided the streets altogether, holing up in abandoned warehouses on the town's edge where the fog concealed my deteriorating form. There, in the cavernous silence broken only by dripping water, I confronted buried traumas. Memories I'd long suppressed surfaced like rot in damp wood. The secret affair years ago with Violet, my best friend's wife. I'd lied to everyone, including myself, burying the guilt under layers of denial. It meant nothing, I'd told her, and later, I don't regret it, to my reflection. But now, each recalled deception fueled the change. In the warehouse gloom, I peeled back more bark, staring at the exposed flesh. It moved with a will of its own, muscles coiling like serpents, eyes small, glowing pinpricks, flickering in the meat where my ribs should be. The affair's memory hit hardest, stolen nights on the forest's outskirts, words of passion masking the hollowness. I'd ended it with a final lie. This was a mistake, and buried it deep. Now it clawed back, accelerating the erosion. Half my torso was gone, replaced by this twitching abomination. A parasite of truth, devouring the lies that held me together. The murmurs started then, soft, insistent voices in my head, urging deceptions and isolation. Tell them you're fine, they said. Hide the truth. It's safer that way. No one understands. Lied to them all. I wandered deeper into derelict spaces, hallucinations intensifying, splintering limbs in crowded visions, friends turning away as my body cracked apart. One night, I dreamed of grandfather, his form wooden and hollow, an invisible force drawing him into the woods. The enchantment binds the beast, he intoned. Lies keep it caged, but truth sets it free. I awoke in a sweat, my left leg transformed, furred and clawed, snapping at shadows. The puppet strings I'd brought with me vibrated wildly, drawing me toward the twisted forest beyond the warehouses. Mistvale's woods were legends in themselves, gnarled trees that held secrets, roots like veins pulsing under moss. I resisted it at first, but the pull was inexorable. Each denied urge a fresh lie to myself. I don't need to go, I muttered, feeling my jaw unhinge slightly, teeth sharpening beneath peeling lips. Finally, I surrendered, stumbling into the forest as night fell. The trees closed in, branches like skeletal fingers brushing my fragmented skin. Fog wove through the undergrowth, and with each step, the transformation surged. Half my body was no longer mine. A feral creature with snapping tendons and glowing eyes, hulking and primal, fur matted with blood from self-inflicted wounds where wood met flesh. My right side remained somewhat human, rigid and bark-encased, while the left thrashed wildly, claws raking the earth. Deeper in, the revelations came. The entity wasn't a curse or parasite. It was me. My suppressed authentic self, trapped by that ancient enchantment. Our bloodline's bargain had sealed our wild natures in wooden shells, sustained by deception, yet eroded by honesty. Unleashing what lay within, the puppet strings in my pocket burned, symbols of that control now fraying as memories flooded back. Suppressed childhood rages, denied desires, the affair a crack in the veneer that had grown over years. The voices intensified into a resounding chorus, ringing through the forest. Embrace it. No more lies. But terror gripped me. This thing inside was monstrous, a feral id of snapping jaws and unbridled fury. I fought it, staggering through twisted paths where roots tripped me, vines coiling like strings around my limbs. Sensory horrors overwhelmed me. The scent of decay stabbed like knives into my nostrils, amplified by the beast's senses. Every rustle boomed like thunder, every shadow loomed as a predator. My glowing eyes pierced the darkness, revealing phantoms, splintered versions of myself, howling in agony. Pain radiated from the divide in my body, where wood ground against flesh and tendons snapped like overstrung wires. Then Tom appeared. He'd followed me, worried, his flashlight beam cutting through the fog. Ryder? What the hell is this? You look... Oh, God. I tried to warn him away. Stay back. It's not safe. But the lie, I'm still me, died on my lips as the beast surged forward. In the visceral battle within, I clawed at myself, desperate to suppress it, wooden fingers splintering against feral hide. The sensory assault peaked, blood's sharp taste in my mouth, fur bristling under my skin, eyes burning with unnatural light. Tom reached out, grabbing my human arm. Let me help you. No. The beast lashed out, its claws accidentally raking his shoulder and drawing blood. He screamed, stumbling back, horror filling his eyes as he beheld the full extent of my duality. What are you? Desperation clawed at me. I couldn't let this happen. In futile resolve, I grabbed the puppet strings from my pocket, wrapping them around my feral limb and pulling tight to bind it. I can control this, I gasped, lying to myself again, the words triggering fresh erosion. The strings dug into flesh, but the beast roared, tendons snapping free. Glowing eyes fixed on Tom as he bled on the forest floor. I wrestled internally, every sense alight with horror, the sharp taste of his blood, the wet snap of my own body betraying me. Voices urging release. I yanked harder on the strings, desperate to reel it in, but the enchantment frayed further, widening the divide. Pain exploded through me, visions of splintering overwhelming my senses, and I collapsed to my knees, half man, half monster, as the forest closed in and Tom's cries faded. In that eternal moment, as Tom's blood scented the air and his pleas faded into the fog, I felt the final thread snap, not just the puppet strings unraveling in my grasp, but the very weave of deception that had bound me for so long. The beast didn't consume me whole. Instead, it merged with me, forcing a grotesque union where wood and flesh twisted together like vines choking a trunk. My human arm splintered into bark-veined claws, while my feral side hardened with patches of rigid oak, a patchwork monster born of half-truths and suppressed rage. Tom fled, his eyes wide with terror, leaving me alone in the undergrowth. The voices silenced at last into a hollow resonance. I couldn't return to Mistvale, to streets where every nod and casual fib would feed this abomination further. Instead, I dragged my malformed body deeper into the woods, seeking seclusion in a forgotten cabin choked by thorns, far from human eyes. The curse lingers, an inexplicable itch burrowed deeper beneath my hybridized skin, like forgotten splinters stirring in the quiet, waiting for any slip of the tongue to spread, not just through me, but perhaps beyond, carried on the wind of whispered untruths to those who deceive as I once did. And you, dear reader, who turn these pages with your own small secrets tucked away, beware the stiffness in your joints you dismiss. Your lies, too, might erode the fragile civility you cling to, awakening the monster within. Speak only truth, or risk becoming like me, a fractured echo, forever fleeing the beast you birthed. For in the quiet moments when you next bend the truth, listen closely. You might hear the faint crack of wood beneath your skin. Join us inside the void, listener. Tell us of your grave misfortunes on r/ancientmalicious. Give us your gold, your treasures, your time. Join the subscription cult. Become like us. Become one with